So, welcome everyone to this monthly broadcast, Infusions of Light. So delighted that you are joining us. If you've never joined us before, the Infusions of Light is a monthly global broadcast that occurs every third Friday at noon Pacific Standard Time. And it is a broadcast that is committed and devoted to the evolution of humanity, one person at a time. So, thank you so much for joining us. And in this broadcast, what we're doing is that we're connecting to wisdom teachings, both from my own experience as a naturopathic doctor and mind body spirit specialist and spiritual teacher over many years, as well as the wisdom teachings that are coming in from the higher dimensional helpers, as well as we are connecting to the power of prayer and meditation and transmission from the higher dimensional helpers of the Council of One, which is a council of ascended masters as well as angelic guides and higher dimensional helpers from other places that are connected to the law of one, the law of love, as well as the connection to our higher self. So, my name is Dr. Melissa Sophia Joy, and as I mentioned just a moment ago, I'm a naturopathic doctor. I'm a founder of a modality called Somatic Awakening. I'm also a mind body spirit specialist, a spiritual teacher, as well as an ordained oracle for Divine Mother and the Council of One, who I just mentioned. So, before we totally dive into the topic of the day and our opening prayer, what I'd like to also say is that if you're new to us and I use a word for the divine that doesn't necessarily connect to your perspectives, I totally encourage you to use the words and the energy and the symbolism that most matches you. What we're doing here is really opening up to divine wisdom, divine truth, divine healing. So thank you for doing that. All right, so let's go ahead and open with a prayer. So as you're ready, closing your eyes, taking some nice deep breaths in and out. And first, what I'd actually like to do before we drop into the prayer is just take a moment just to really get present in our body, focusing on our breath, allowing our breath to be elongated both on the inhale and the exhale. And as you breathe, just really feeling yourself dropping into your being, letting go of any thoughts of the past, any thoughts or worries of the future, and just really connecting to this present moment and connecting to your body as well as connecting to the earth. So just sending a line of grounding to the earth, connecting in, really being right here, right now in this moment. And from this place, I open up and ask for the divine in its multitudinal manifestations of oneness to bless our container today. So we are calling in specifically Divine Mother. We're calling in those of the Council of One, the Ascended Masters, especially Jesus, who I also call Yeshua, Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, as well as Kuan Yin, Green Tara, Saint Germain, and many, many others who are of the Council of One, the archangels, Michael, Raphael, Uriel, Gabriel, Metatron, Shamiel, Zadkiel, and all the other many, many layers of angelic support that are here, as well as the higher dimensional helpers of the star systems of the light and of love. We also ask you here, those who are connected to our highest good, as well as the law of one and the law of love. We welcome you here and ask for your blessing of truth and wisdom and light. And we call in the energy of the codes of light above us, connecting us to our own deep light inside of our being, connecting to us on all levels, cellularly, on an atom level, moving down even deeper on a subatomic level. Thank you for helping us to remember our I am presence. And we also give great gratitude for Mother Earth, helping us to stay grounded and connected throughout this entire call. And we call in this light and love and truth to consecrate our collective container in the sacredness and connecting us to the pillars of light of the Sophia Christos consciousness. Thank you so much for connecting us in this place. And all others who are not of this light, it is commanded that you leave now. And we call in this deep sense of knowing, of trust, that we are held in this wisdom, we are held in this light, and we are held in this deep sense of a reunion with who we truly are and the trust that is opening to us today. So giving deep and abiding gratitude, thank you so much. And we are opening this container and knowing that it is so. Thank you. It is done. It is done. It is done. So thank you again for joining with us today. And the topic of the day is healing anxiety. And this is a second part of this topic. Last month I taught the first part, and whenever I was in preparation for this broadcast last month, I realized there is so much on this topic. I'm going to really need to lengthen it out. So today we start this topic off with talking about how so many different aspects of our psyche can affect our sense of anxiety. So another way of saying this is that we have so many different levels of programming. And what I mean by program is that it is many layers of thought forms, of what I'll call thought complexes or energetic complexes that are created through different experiences that we have. Last time we talked about how, for instance, trauma can actually create a thought complex, a program necessarily, that actually can really engage our sense of anxiety. So in other words, what it's doing is that it's saying that life isn't safe, that we have to do something in order for it to be safe, or that reality should be different than what it is. And whenever that's not, then what happens is that we can feel really, really anxious. And of course, there are many other aspects to that we talked about last week. But today, what I want to talk about specifically is how there are two aspects, two things within our subconscious that can really very much affect anxiety, and they're not very often talked about. So I want to bring both of those things up. So one of these things are what I'll call familial inheritance of anxiety, and the other thing is past life trauma, which can very much play a part in anxiety. So let's first of all talk about the familial inheritance of anxiety. So of course, the first thing that we talk about is that it could be on a physiological genetic level. We talked about that last week, and that is true. There are different things within our physiology, different genetic issues or other things that can cause anxiety, but that's not really what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is that there can be issues in our family in the past that are inherited through the generations. So I'll give you an example. Say, for instance, your great, great, great grandmother was an Indian, and your great, great, great grandfather was a person who came over from Europe. And they ended up getting together, but she wasn't really, let's say, on board. It was more like she was stolen, she was kidnapped, or, this as an example. And that played a huge role in how she lived her life. So she lived her life with him, and according to how he treated her, almost like a slave, right? And so if that happened, then that energy is being translated generation by generation by generation until further on down the line, one of the family members of that family actually has some type of awakening or a connection or a memory or a vision of this and actually offers that part of him or her healing. So it's offering the family healing. It's offering the great great grandmother healing as well as the great great grandfather, great great great, however many greats I said before. But also it's offering that person healing. So I'll give you another example of this. This is more of a present time example. So I worked with a patient many years ago who had some repressed memories arise around sexual abuse in her family. I'm not going to go into the story of it, but just know that that was part of what she was uncovering with herself and her immediate family. What she then realized a few years later, after she started talking and having some pretty serious conversations with other members of her more distant family, uncles and aunts and whatnot, is that this situation was something that had been happening for many generations before her. So she had the opportunity to do some very deep familial healing. And what happened is that as she did this, her anxiety decreased significantly, as well as many other symptoms. But the anxiety was the one that was the most prevalent in what I'll call her fight flight sympathetic nervous system. And as she did this deeper healing, she started feeling a deeper sense of peace, a deeper sense of relaxation in her life. So that's an example of familial inheritance of anxiety. So the next thing I want to talk about is the past life aspect of how anxiety could be promoted, be activated, and then we'll talk about how to heal both of those. At least begin the conversation. So in past life issues, if we have a past life or a multitude of past lives where there's been some type of intense trauma, it can definitely play a role in how we perceive our life. So an example of this is what I have seen, what I call the psyche of our soul carries memories from our past lives forward into our present life. And so if we've had one or a multitude of past lives where we've been victims of violence, then the psyche of our soul is going to be giving us information that it's not safe, that we have to do something to really stay very, very, very safe. And oftentimes that means that it's telling us stories that we have to have reality be a certain way, or we have to do certain things in reality to stay super safe. And if it's not like that, then our anxiety can get off the chart. And this is something that I've experienced in my own life. I've mentioned to many people, and I'm actually writing about the story now in a book that I'm writing, but I'll mention it here. About 20 years ago, I had an experience where the normal boundary or the screen, so to speak, that keeps us from this present life to other past lives. So, in other words, it prevents us from remembering all these different past lives. It ripped from an experience that I had. And I started having a multitudinal experience of many, many, many past lives all at once. It was very overwhelming. And over time, what I learned is that as I brought healing into each one of these experiences, each one of these memories of past lives, my own anxiety decreased exponentially. And that's whenever I realized, oh, there's really something to this. And, my prediction is that however long, 50 years, 100 years, 200 years from now, that actually working with past lives is going to be a really, really significant and accepted understanding within healing in a traditional kind of mode. So, in other words, what we call regular psychotherapy today will also include actually working with past lives, because I've experienced it and I've seen it in so many other people that it significantly helps them feel more peace inside of their life and decrease their anxiety exponentially. So now the question is, well, how do we work with this if we don't know what it is? And so the first thing is that we start asking questions. So the primary question that we start with is, do I have a level of anxiety that actually makes sense from my own personal experience in my life? So in other words, can I look back on my experience as a child, knowing the traumas that I've been through, knowing what's happened in my life, and does the level of anxiety that I have actually match that experience? And if the answer is no, then this would be a really good place to look. So, of course, it could be physiological. We don't want to just rule that out offhand. So, you need to rule that out in terms of lab tests and whatnot. But looking at this other piece can be incredibly, incredibly significant. So, we start asking deeper questions. We bring one of the things that I do very often in my own meditation is at the very beginning of my meditations, I'll ask an open-ended question, like an inquiry question. Like, for instance, in this kind of situation, is there any familial inheritance or past life issue connected to my anxiety that I need to know? And then allow yourself to go deep, deep into meditation. I would say at least a 45-minute meditation, if not longer. And then notice what arises from your psyche. And once you have that information, or if you don't have information, then it's going to really clue you in as to where to go next. So, for instance, if you are a practitioner and you get a lot of past life information, you can definitely do your own past life work. But if you're not a practitioner, a healing practitioner, intuitive practitioner, and nothing is coming to you, then it'd probably be good to connect with someone who can help you open your own doorways, both intuitively, give you some perspective, as well as connecting you to your own experiences to take you on the next step. So this would be working with a healer. This is a lot of work that I do. So if you ever want to talk about that with me personally, let me know. But there are a lot of healers out there that can help you with this. So I'm bringing this up because over the next few months, we're going to be going even deeper into looking at all of these different ways that really can affect our psyche. And for sure, past lives as well as familial inheritance are two of those big, big pieces. And so really what I'm saying here is that this conversation will continue because it's more of a path than it is a one-time stop. If you are a person who's had a lot of past life experiences, memories, you know this is a path of unwinding. This actually is a path to really help us to bring in more of our light and to remember our light that's inside of us, to embody more of ourselves. And working with both of these issues are significantly important in helping you do that, both in decreasing your anxiety as well as helping you awaken and embody who you really are. So on that note, the next thing that I want to talk about, let me actually get my list here, is the secret mantra that I mentioned in the marketing materials of this broadcast. There is a mantra that we're going to be talking about. It's not a Hindu mantra. It's definitely in English. But before I introduce it to you, I'd like to talk a little bit about the process of how this mantra came to me. So the first thing I just want to say, which is a repeat from what I said before, but I want to go in deeper, is that anxiety, when you unpack it, typically what I have found and experienced in my own life and working with many others is that underneath, all the way underneath, is that there is this fear. And the fear is typically connected to some sense of reality not being the way that you want it to be. Maybe your boyfriend is breaking up with you, or maybe you're finding out that you have to move and you don't want to move, or maybe you don't get the job that you think that you should get, or maybe something else is happening. But what's happening is that a part of you is saying, okay, in order for me to stay safe, I need to get this job. And I didn't get the job, so my anxiety is out the roof, right? So what is really happening here is that we're not in harmony with the way of things, with how reality actually is, right? This is something I talk about in my ebook a lot, that if we are not in connection or allowing, that's an even better word, of reality as it is, then oftentimes what happens is that we're both in suffering as well as in anxiety. And I work with a lot of people who have anxiety. So inevitably, typically, I'll have this conversation with them in terms of allowing reality to be what it is. And one of the ways that I have found out that really is helpful, both in my own life as well as the many people that I've worked with, is the mantra, I don't know. I don't know how reality should be. My brain and my psyche thinks I know how reality should be, but I don't know how it should be. So I'll give you an example of this. So recently in my office, there has been some issues with different smells. There possibly some mold here, and I just had a neighbor move in who his livelihood is connected to used clothing, and so it smells kind of like a thrift store here. And I'm sensitive, and I have a lot of patients that are sensitive, and so I'm very concerned about it, and I've been in conversation with my landlord about it, and he hasn't necessarily been responding in the way that I thought that he should, right? So I've had some anxiety about it because I don't want to be inundated with toxicity, nor do I want my patients to be inundated with toxicity. I don't necessarily want to move. I really love my office. I've been here for a really long time. All these things, right? And what happened is that because reality wasn't going the way that I wanted it to do, I had a couple of days, be honest, of some high anxiety. But what happened is that all these other doors started opening, and I realized, wow, there might be some really beautiful opportunities here that I wouldn't have otherwise. And so I realized as I was preparing for this class, oh, right, this mantra, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe this is the exact thing that should be happening. I don't know. Maybe these opportunities are exactly the way that I need to go. I don't know. And guess what? My anxiety decreased exponentially, and I was able to trust life more. And when we trust life more, when we're in more of an acceptance of how reality should be, then our anxiety decreases exponentially. Along that line, another way that I have seen that a lot of people get completely sidetracked and very, very, very anxious is around our to-do list. So because our society really equates worth and productivity, what happens is that we oftentimes will identify ourselves with our to-do list. I don't know if you're guilty of this, but I know I've been guilty of this before in terms of, oh, I'm always constantly referencing my to-do list. What's next? How much can I get done? And noticing that the engine of my go mind, which is what we talked about last week, the go paradigm, has to do with how much I'm getting done. And oftentimes what that's doing is that that's pushing me beyond my actual physical, emotional, energetic capacity when we define ourselves through our to-do list. So part of utilizing the mantra of I don't know is also connecting it to our to-do list. I don't know if actually my worth equals my productivity. I don't know if this is actually true. Of course, whenever we really sit with it, we know that it's not true. But on a day-to-day basis, whenever we're having our to-do list run our life, it's really important to pull ourselves back. And I don't know, definitely can help us recalibrate, because we know that's kind of silly, right? Of course, our worth doesn't equal our productivity, but some subconscious part of us believes that it is. So I don't know, it helps us pull back. And ultimately, what I really want to encourage you to do is to acknowledge that your life is your life. Your life is not your to-do list. And everything that you can do to really help yourself pull back, especially in the middle of the day, whenever you're checking off the to-do list and you're pushing yourself faster than you feel like is in the right alignment for you, then what's going to happen is that as you pull back and as you see what's really happening, you claim your life more. You get to choose, oh, this is my life. This is not my to-do list life, especially if you're an entrepreneur. Who's in control of you? No one. You're in control of yourself. But also if you're working with another person, right? So really to self-reference yourself, to self-reference your energy, to self-reference who you are and what you're capable of and what feels in alignment for you is really what it means to pull back with the I don't know mantra, but also to come back home to knowing, oh, my life is more significant and more important than my to-do list. So that's the overall level of wisdom teachings that I wanted to share today in terms of working with the multitudinal people. Multitudinal, I think that's a word that I'm making up. But the multitude of people that I've worked with in terms of anxiety, there's a lot more that I can say, but those are the primary pieces that I wanted to share today. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to switch gears and go into transmission. Before we do so, I'm just going to take a quick sip of water here. I invite you to do the same. All right. So I'm just going to take a moment to switch gears here and to connect in. Divine Mother is the one who has been most present. So I'm imagining she's the one who's going to be coming in. We'll see if anyone else joins her today. So I'm going to be quiet for a moment, and whenever I start speaking again, I'm going to be in transmission. Greetings. I am so delighted to connect into this divine I am field that we are with you in this presence. And especially talking about this incredibly important topic today regarding anxiety. And I want to share with you today some of the deeper understandings from this divine higher perspective, connecting into your own I am presence and the layers of subconscious contractions and shielding connected to anxiety that keeps you from this I am presence that you are. So first we acknowledge the container of this time, space, dimensionality that you are in, and offer incredible and deep compassion for the dualistic nature that you are all learning from. This is a reality of both light and dark, good and evil, based in the energies of free will and because of this important and significant need, rule, intention of this reality to have both inherent in it free will and duality, one's psyche, egoic structure, has a perspective that it needs to hold and contain and assure one's safety. This can be quite anxiety provoking because reality does not always assure one's safety. So, what we want to articulate is that the level at which the egoic structure believes that one's safety must be assured, the level of the most profound level of duality, is connected to the lower rung of what we'll call third dimensionality. So this is very much a level of black and white, good and bad. And one's egoic psyche can very much and easily get completely overwhelmed when reality is not in the category of good, thus provoking anxiety, sometimes incredible anxiety. So, what we want to share is that as you begin to make the journey to increase your vibration and to move into higher and higher levels of vibrational awareness, fourth dimensional vibrational awareness, fifth, and so on and so forth, what happens is that one becomes freed more from this very base level of dualistic reality of what is good and what is bad, and forcing things to be in one's own alignment with what good means for them. And if not, then anxiety is produced. So, another way of saying it is that as you evolve and resonate higher dimensionality, one is going to be free more and more from this construct. And the way that you do this is by committing to your own healing, committing to your evolution, committing to your awakening. And the more that you can see, live, be from this higher dimensional place, you realize and you begin living the deep safety of the divine. Because you're more in connection to the oneness that we all are. You're more connected to a sense of trusting this deep safety of the divine. Because you have had enough experiences that you realize that this lower basic third dimensionality, especially at the lower levels of that, are not all that reality is. But when one is stuck in the lower third dimensionality levels, it can be quite harrowing because one believes this is all that reality is, and I must force it to be in alignment with what I believe is safe. And the truth is that one individual cannot create his or her reality to always be safe from this place. Reality will not always show up the way that you, especially the egoic psyche structure, wants it to, because of the free will dualistic nature of this container. So today, what we would like to do is to bring the next level of healing to the parts of you that are holding on to this lower third dimensional basic structure that can be very painful because it's so attached to its identity and sense of safety. So that you are less attached to this way of being and are freer to connect to both the divine sense of safety and beginning or taking the next steps, your next steps in understanding and living from choosing trust. Because with this trust, even if you're not living from a higher dimensional place, the trust itself will soothe your nervous system and allow the anxiety to come back to a more reasonable or even non-existent place inside of your being. So let us begin with the healing for today. So as you are ready, close your eyes if they're not already closed. Taking some nice deep breaths in and out. And allowing yourself to move into present time. Present time is an incredibly magical place because so much can happen from here. You can more easily connect to higher dimensional connections, mystical experiences, deep healing. But what needs to happen in order for that to occur is to drop the mind, drop the thoughts of the mind, the lower mind, and become aligned with what is actually happening in your present existence. So to do that, let's go ahead and focus again on the breath. Acknowledging any thoughts that are arising and returning to the breath. And as you breathe, we invite you to move your awareness now up to the top of your head, connecting all the way into your 8th chakra, also known as your soul star chakra, 16 to 18 inches above you. And as you do so, just really calling in your entire field, which is connected to your grounding in the earth and your entire auric field around you. And just feeling that at the very top of this egg-shaped structure of your aura is your connection to your 8th chakra. So from here, we invite you to move into presence, seeing yourself standing from this vantage point in your 8th chakra, seeing yourself standing with your feet grounded into your physical body, grounded into the earth, and your own unique connection to the earth. And also from this vantage point, as you stand in presence, noticing that as you turn to your right, that you are perceiving your future. And as you turn your head to the left, that you're perceiving your past. And you're standing right here in this present now. So as you're standing in this present now, we invite you to open the conduit of divinity that starts here at the 8th chakra and goes up above your head, going all the way to your 12th chakra and above, connecting to the conduit of divinity that you are, all layers and levels of your higher self, opening now and connecting directly to this conduit, connecting directly to your being, the vision of yourself, standing here in your 8th chakra, and connecting into your physical body in this now. So as you open to this conduit, we invite in all the levels and layers of light that is in right alignment for you, that is in right alignment with your capacity to now move into this image, this being of you in your 8th chakra. Feeling this aspect of you in your 8th chakra. And knowing that because you are connected to this conduit of divinity, that anything and all things that you need are provided for you in this now. So inviting whatever level of this energy that's in right alignment with your physical body, not pushing you over capacity, moving down now into your physical body. And also filling, seeing this part of you in 8th chakra, filling this part more and more and more, connecting to your divinity, connecting to your I am presence, allowing you to feel and know your higher self in this now, in this presence, as one with this aspect of you in your 8th chakra. So from this vantage point, we invite you now to turn toward your past. And this past includes all things that have happened to you in this lifetime. As well, it includes activating and understanding the psyche of your soul and all aspects of your past lives that need tending. Does not mean that you need to understand this or even perceive all of this, definitely not from an intellectual perspective, but just noticing how many past lives need your attention. There might be a number come to you, or that you might see a handful or many, just noticing what's here. And so from this place, what we are doing is that we are calling down this I am presence of you, this connected to the divine essence, connected to me, connected to Divine Father, connected to the oneness that we all are, and bringing this now into your past. Allowing this healing energy to flow like a river to your past, both in this lifetime, connecting to any and all parts that have been connected to your anxiety, both in what you've experienced in this lifetime as well as what you've experienced in your past lives. So in other words, what we are doing is that we are feeding these parts, healing, letting them know that in whatever way is in right alignment with your perfect timing, that you are now acknowledging their existence and that you are feeding them this healing from your divine I am presence, from your conduit of divinity, and just acknowledging that whatever aspects need your attention more, that you are, if it is in right alignment for you, that you're making a commitment to them, that you will tend them in right and perfect timing, so that you are more and more free, and that they are more and more free. They become more and more healed. So just continue to see this light as a river flowing to all of these aspects of self in present lifetime and in past lifetime. And again, we're not overdoing it. We're not asking you to remember everything or to understand everything or give these parts more than what they can handle. All of this is in right alignment with their capacity, with your capacity. Allowing this light to help them know that you are ready now to acknowledge their existence, and that in a right and perfect timing that you will bring deeper healing into them so that they can eventually come back to a place where they feel healed, where they feel like they can rest. And that will allow your being, your body, your nervous system to move with more ease and grace and have less anxiety in your life overall. So we're going to be quiet now as this light, this river of light, heals all of these different parts, brings healing to them now. And seeing embedded in this river of light great compassion. Compassion for all that you have been through. Again, no need to understand this intellectually, but just acknowledging you've been living in a dualistic reality. And there are parts that are still afraid from what they've been through. So offering them this compassion, offering them this sense of healing, and underneath it all, this sense of divine safety, that they are safe now. That whatever has happened in the past has happened, and that you are moving from this present time place, and that you allow them to, in their own time and in their own way, move into this deeper sense of divine safety. And knowing that this river of light and compassion will continue to flow in the right and perfect way for you. We now invite you back to being in complete awareness of your present time, I am self. And from this place, invite your higher self to move out into your future, to earmark different times in your future that are ripe for the healing on a deeper level for all of these parts, so that you can trust that in the place beyond time, it's already done. This healing has already happened. And just seeing, feeling, sensing that your higher self knows exactly where to place these timelines, this time in your timeline of when this healing will happen in the right and perfect way for you. So that you feel more and more every day this deeper sense of divine safety and trust. Taking a few deep breaths in and out, knowing that this is so. And as you're ready now, turn your head again to the left. And now, sense this river of healing and light and compassion now moving to your family of origin. On both sides, your mother's side and your father's side. And just allowing this river of light and healing to touch all within your family lineage where deep trauma has occurred that is affecting not only your family, your immediate family, but is affecting you in present time. So we are offering all of these ancestors healing from this divine healing river and freedom in the right and perfect way for them, whatever that means for them, freedom and alignment with their highest good. And all beings that are attached to this, that are not of your family, that are not of the light, we are shifting them out of your family line now. You now are going back to the place that is in your highest karmatic unfolding, in alignment with the highest good, the law of one and the law of love. And continue seeing this river of love moving back and back and back, moving into your family line in a way that is allowing the deepest level of healing that is in everyone's highest good. And we are now calling in the angelic beings, the archangels, to help with this entire reconfiguration of moving this light in a way that is in exact alignment, again, with highest good for everyone who is being affected by this light. Again, there's no need to understand this from an intellectual perspective, so just continue to hold this from a very high I am presence as much as possible. Allowing this river to flow in any direction that it needs to flow for as long as it needs to flow, to bring this healing to a place of completion. And now allowing this healing to move into your present I am now breath. So we are seeing this healing coming back to you, moving into your eighth chakra, moving into your physical body. So another way of saying it is that as your ancestors are freed, as they receive the healing that they need, that healing, that freedom then comes back to you. Allowing this energy in a very deep way. Allowing yourself to be freed. Again, there's no need to understand what the story was, what happened, but to allow the healing to move in now. Again, I'm going to be quiet while this healing completes itself. So we now affirm that the healing that you have received, all aspects of you have received today, is now coming into your I am presence, into this moment, and moving out into your future timeline for the right and perfect integration and alignment with your nervous system, an alignment with your animal body, your limbic system, your reptilian brain, an alignment with all aspects of you so that you stay within ease and grace. And knowing that anything that needs to happen in the future in regard to healing this deeply and in regard to integration of this will happen again in the right and perfect timing. So we call this healing in on all levels of being, on the energetic level, recalibrating the energy system, recalibrating the nadis, the central channel, recalibrating your chakras, recalibrating all aspects of you, your auric field. And if I use names that you don't know, this is aspects of your energy system. Moving now into recalibrating your emotional body, allowing the emotional body to rest more, allowing the emotional body to step more and more into feeling this divine safety, that it's safe to understand, to feel, to really bring in on an emotional level this sense of divine safety and the trust that it is founded in. We now bring it into the physical body, into all of the tissues, into the cells and the organelles, the molecules. We bring it into the nucleus, the subnucleus, the atom, the subatomic particles, the form to space, space to form, the quantum field. We bring it into your spiritual body, allowing your I am presence to be more and more present every day. The I am presence that knows deeply this divine safety and this trust, which changes everything in this unified field of wholeness. So we give gratitude and thanks that this healing that is happening in this present now is happening also in the past and happening also in the future, in the space that is beyond time. And we call that it is happening in the right synchrony with ease and grace, and know that that is so, and give gratitude for it, that this is so, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. It is done. It is done. It is done. So thank you so much for joining with me today. We are right at the top of the hour. Look at that. Perfection. I had no idea what time it was. And really delighted that you joined with me today, whether you were on the call today or whether you join later on in the future. Know that we're all holding this time space construct together in this space beyond time. And before we end, I just have a few announcements. So, Infusions of Light will definitely continue on. Next month, we're going to be doing healing trauma, which is the next piece in the movement that we are taking. And we're going to move to a place of highlight on June 21st on the summer solstice. We're going to be doing a longer infusions of light, special infusions of light. It's going to be an hour and a half, and it's going to be on transforming the victim-victimizer paradigm. And I'm going to be having other priestesses join with me here. And we're going to be doing a panel discussion, and more significantly, we're going to be doing a ritual at the end, a very powerful ritual to shift this victimizer paradigm that we have been stuck in for far too long in this reality. So I really hope that you can join me on that day. And lastly, I have another day long coming up on Saturday, June 1st. It's called Life Reboot Intensive, and it's all about stabilizing your freedom, stabilizing your awakening and your healing in your everyday life. So it should be an incredibly powerful day, and I'll be sending out more information on that soon. So I hope that you can join us for that too. All right, blessings so much. So many, many, many blessings and so much love. Really delighted that you are here with me and traveling this path with me. Thank you.